Hello, everyone. It's day 10 of the federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs, and the atmosphere in court is more like a tense episode of The Sopranos than real life. The bombshell testimony continues, from a bag full of expensive jewelry being evaporated to allegations that an employee was taken to an abandoned building and severely threatened. The name Uncle Paulie also popped up unexpectedly in the testimony, raising many questions. There's also talk of lie detectors, disposable phones, and chilling situations, like a woman being forced into a car under extremely stressful circumstances. It's getting really dramatic, like a real-life TV drama. And yes, today is a day with a lot to talk about. Back on day 10 of the high-profile federal trial, the courtroom scene felt more like an HBO drama than a typical legal proceeding. Only one witness testified all day, but the weight of her testimony was such that people couldn't take their eyes off her. That witness was Capricorn Clark, a former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs who worked alongside him for years, and today she wasn't shy about sharing her story. Capricorn grew up in Los Angeles and got her start at Def Jam Records in New York in the 1990s. By 2004, she was on Diddy's team, but that journey took her through Death Row Records, the label run by Suge Knight, a figure who reportedly had a rocky relationship with Diddy. One notable point, a close friend of Capricorn's had a child with Suge Knight, which she said prompted Diddy to have a private conversation on her first day on the job. According to her testimony, the meeting took place at night in Central Park, with no bodyguards, no lawyers, just the two of them. Capricorn said it was a tense conversation where Diddy was serious and asked questions about her past and connections. But that's not all. She also mentioned a memorable meeting after an MTV event where Diddy and rapper 50 Cent, 50, appeared together. During a private moment in the elevator, Capricorn said she heard Diddy express his displeasure with public relationships with a statement that she found very touching. Still, Capricorn continued to work for him for years, taking on a number of key roles, from marketing director to global brand director. By 2016, she was named creative director for Cassie Ventura. But the job wasn't easy. She said she often worked from 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. the next day, earning just $65,000 a year, a figure that raised eyebrows in court, given the nature of the job and the amount of time she put in. The stress also caused her to develop alopecia, she said. Capricorn also said she had a meeting with HR where she was told her actual salary for the role could be higher, up to $80,000 plus overtime. But when she raised the issue, she said, it wasn't received well. She claimed she was never paid for that overtime. The deposition also revealed that her role went beyond marketing. She said she had to prepare hotel rooms for contingencies, including cleaning up after private parties, packing luggage, and preparing everything from candles to Diddy's personal items. We've heard similar stories from other assistants. They've been asked to clean up after private parties without being told in advance. One even said her job included handling personal items left behind. She said that while staying at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles, she walked into her room and saw handprints on the suede walls, which she said caused significant property damage. According to Capricorn Clark, this was just one part of a larger picture of the work environment and behavior she experienced. In 2010, she said, a particularly disturbing situation occurred at a rental home in Los Angeles. While in the kitchen, Diddy called Cassie Ventura, his partner and artist under his management, over and asked her to perform a series of simple tasks. Sit down, stand up, walk over, turn around, pick up an item, and hand it to him. It all happened in front of Capricorn, Lauren London, and the chef. Capricorn said Cassie followed every instruction promptly and without question. Diddy then turned to the others and made a controversial remark, suggesting that this was why some people don't have stable relationships. Capricorn said everyone present responded in agreement. The court also heard about another incident, which took place in the summer of 2006 at the Star Island mansion. Capricorn said she was working non-stop, not taking a break, and feeling completely exhausted. One morning, while getting food, she asked the chef about the turkey bacon, but was met with a somewhat scathing response. Frustrated, she muttered that she didn't like it here. According to the affidavit, the chef relayed the comment to Diddy. When he heard it, his reaction made things tense. Capricorn testified that Diddy came into the room in a rage, confronted her, and demanded that she leave. She described him pushing her with great force. She claimed that she was pushed a considerable distance, about 25 yards. Of course, that distance may be considered unrealistic during cross-examination, but whatever the truth, it got the court's attention. Then, according to Capricorn, someone called Uncle Paulie intervened, ordered Diddy to stop, and told her to pack her things and leave. And that's what she did, leave the job, ending a stressful and conflicted work schedule. But as we know, Capricorn didn't leave the job forever. She would return, again and again. And that return didn't make things any less tense. In fact, just a few months later, she found herself in an even more terrifying situation. One that was more reminiscent of a scene from The Sopranos than a professional work environment. Capricorn told the jury that in 2011, she was tasked with transporting 3 pieces of high-value jewelry to Miami, a diamond watch, a bracelet, and a necklace. The items, she said, belonged to Jacob the jeweler and were on loan to Diddy. But before she even got to the airport, she realized the bag containing the items was missing. She wouldn't say when or where it happened, only that she immediately notified security. Capricorn said that shortly after the jewelry was discovered missing, Paul, a.k.a. Uncle Paulie, Diddy's longtime bodyguard, showed up at her door. When asked to describe Uncle Paulie, Capricorn called him quiet, serious, and intimidating, adding, quote, "He looked like a quarterback," end of quote. She also said that he almost always wore sunglasses, day or night. According to the affidavit, he asked her to accompany him to another location, an old building on Broadway, 1710. Capricorn said they went up to the 6th floor, where she was taken to a room with an older, large man who was smoking a cigarette and drinking black coffee. A polygraph machine was placed in front of her, and the man was described as looking at her very seriously and saying, "If you don't pass this test, you're in trouble." She said that she was extremely frightened. According to Capricorn, the test results were unclear because she could not calm down. She said that the man continued to tell her in a threatening manner, "I can't see a clear result, you have to relax. If I don't see a good result, there will be consequences." End of quote. Capricorn admitted that she could not stay calm during that time. And according to her, she had to stay there for an entire day, undergoing multiple tests with the device, like a morning to afternoon session. At the end of the day, she was taken home by her Uncle Paulie. Before leaving, he allegedly told her, "I will come back tomorrow. There is still work to be done." End of quote. Capricorn told the jury that she really did not know how to sleep after such a day. Capricorn told the jury that she had to undergo 5 consecutive days of polygraph testing. At the end of that process, she said she was told, quote, "You can come back to work on Monday." End of quote. Imagine the feeling after going through that experience and receiving what seemed like a benign message. Capricorn said she did not report the incident to the police or tell anyone because she was bound by a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, and she was also concerned for her safety. She returned to work anyway because, quote, "I wanted to prove my innocence." End of quote. It is unclear what actually happened to the missing jewelry. Emotionally and professionally, she said that at that point, she felt like things had come to an end. She left the bad boy agency thinking that she had closed the chapter in her life. But the journey after that wasn't easy. Capricorn said finding a new job after leaving Bad Boy was difficult. She told the jury that she lost her house, her car, her benefits, and that Diddy told her she wouldn't be able to work anywhere else and would likely fall into depression. So, in 2016, she returned to work for the company, this time as creative director for Cassie Ventura. Capricorn said she tried to set clear boundaries, telling the jury, quote, "I didn't want to work near Diddy. I didn't want to be cooped up in the house." End of quote. But those boundaries soon became blurred, she said. Diddy paid for not only her phone bills, but Cassie's too. So when Cassie texted one day that she was going hiking with Kid Cudi, her boyfriend at the time, Capricorn was concerned. She said she felt uneasy about such a message appearing on a device that could be tracked or linked to Diddy. So she told Cassie, quote, "This could get us all in serious trouble." End of quote. Capricorn then took Cassie to Best Buy to buy a disposable phone to keep their private conversations off of monitored devices. She told the jury that her concerns weren't imaginary, but based on real experience, especially after what happened next. Capricorn insisted she would never forget an incident involving Cassie, Diddy, and rapper Scott Mescudi, a.k.a. Kid Cudi, whom Diddy had just learned was dating Cassie. Capricorn told the jury that the incident happened around 6 a.m., just days before Christmas. She said she was in her Los Angeles apartment when she heard a loud banging on the door, a sound like metal on metal. She looked through the peephole and saw Diddy, looking angry, pacing back and forth in front of the door, wearing a white shirt and gray pants that were ripped at the back. But what caught her attention most, Capricorn said, was that he was holding what appeared to be a gun in his hand. When she opened the door, Capricorn said Diddy yelled, "Who is Scott?" and then added, "Get dressed. We have to go see this guy." Capricorn said she didn't want to go, but Diddy told her it didn't matter and told her to get dressed. She said that because she felt pressured and unsafe, she changed her clothes and got into a large SUV with Diddy, along with bodyguard Ruben. The destination, she said, was rapper Kid Cudi's residence. Capricorn said that when she arrived, she stayed in the car while Diddy and Ruben entered the house through the front door, which was open. Concerned, Capricorn said that she used a disposable phone to call Cassie and told her that she was being forced to go with him to Kid Cudi's house. She also said that from the car, she heard Cudi yelling from inside, "He's in my house!" Shortly after, Capricorn said she heard a car engine behind her and saw Kid Cudi driving home. He reportedly slowed down when he noticed the car she was in and quickly left the area. Capricorn said Diddy and Ruben left the house shortly afterward. When returning to the car, Diddy allegedly became angry and said they needed to follow Cudi. Capricorn said they began following his car in a residential area, but the pursuit quickly ended when they saw the lights of a police cruiser. However, the incident did not end there. Capricorn testified that after leaving Kid Cudi's house, Diddy asked her to call Cassie, saying he would not let her leave until Cassie came to them. Diddy also gave a stern warning, according to the testimony, that both Cassie and Capricorn needed to convince Kid Cudi to tell the police that nothing had happened. Specifically, that he had nothing to do with it. If they did not, he would react violently. Capricorn told the jury that it was at this point that she felt serious concern for the safety of all three people involved. Let's pause for a moment to review what was described in this testimony. If the account is accurate, it would imply that Capricorn was held against her will and forced to make phone calls to bring others in for a meeting, which could be considered illegal detention. Additionally, if true, there is an element of pressure to change someone's testimony, which could be considered interference with the investigation. All of these details, if confirmed, are very serious. Capricorn shared all of this in court, showing how tense and complicated her relationship with her former boss was. Capricorn cried for much of her time on the stand. She was visibly emotional as she recounted her experience. But when it was the defense's legal team's turn to respond, they presented a completely different perspective. During cross-examination, Diddy's attorneys focused on the long and close relationship between Capricorn and Diddy, from the brands they developed, the projects they worked on together, to the years of intensive collaboration. "I was a really good employee," Capricorn told the jury, and at the attorney's table, Diddy nodded in agreement. Capricorn continued to tear up as she shared that, despite all the stories she had told, she had learned a lot from working with Diddy. She said they had overcome barriers, broken down stereotypes, and built something bigger than either of them could have done on their own. She also acknowledged that the job had provided her with rare opportunities, access to big people, bold ideas, and truly creative environments. Diddy's attorneys also emphasized to the jury that, even after the events, Capricorn actively sought to reconnect with him, the man she said she once feared. They pointed out that even after authorities conducted raids on 2 of Diddy's properties, Capricorn expressed a desire to work with him again as his chief of staff. When asked why, she told the court, "Because if I was still there, none of this would have happened." The defense attorneys went further, asking whether she had ever had personal feelings for Diddy. They read aloud a text message from 2021 that she had sent him. "Sometimes I wonder, are we wasting that wonderful connection?" When asked about the text messages, Capricorn said she didn't remember them, insisting that her relationship with Diddy was always 100% professional. She also clarified that the night she went to Kid Cudi's house, she didn't see any police cars as she described, but when she returned later, she saw ADT security personnel cleaning up. A few months later, over the summer, an investigator called her about the incident involving a burned-out Porsche in Cudi's driveway. Capricorn told the jury that she didn't answer the phone. She said she didn't want to get involved in any more trouble. Diddy's attorneys, however, produced a series of emails sent by Capricorn herself, and they weren't from her previous employment. They were from years after she left the company. In one, she wrote, "What I'm asking for this year is for you to keep your promise and be my friend again." Capricorn told the jury that she had once considered herself Puff's protector. Throughout the trial, Capricorn continued to cry. At one point, she turned to the judge and said, "I'm sorry for the pain I caused." And that's what was remarkable about this emotional testimony. Sometimes the tears were real, and sometimes they were staged. But according to those present at the trial, Capricorn's emotions were genuine and unfeigned. That contributed significantly to the credibility of her testimony. Capricorn Clark shocked the courtroom when she took the stand, giving testimony that matched the coercive conduct and RICO charges the prosecution was pursuing. She opened with a powerful statement. "I was kidnapped." And it happened not just once, but many times. Today's trial was a turning point for the prosecution. While they had previously focused on individual acts of violence, which had left many experts skeptical that they could build a solid case for organized crime, today was the time to shift their focus to another area, acts of coercion and control, and Capricorn was the one to open that section. The story of Uncle Paulie, a character who at first sounded like he came straight out of a crime drama, took center stage. According to Capricorn's testimony, Paulie was the one who took her from her residence and escorted her to an abandoned building where she was interrogated repeatedly for several days. Every day, she was subjected to polygraph tests. Capricorn recounted that she was extremely stressed, to the point that the test results were inconclusive. Under pressure, she was told that if she could not control her emotions to produce reliable results, the consequences would be dire. Capricorn described the situation as terrifying. She did not know where she was, why she was taken there, and why she had to endure long days of interrogation in an unfamiliar, stressful place. Remarkably, after this series of events, she was simply told that she could return to work on Monday, as if nothing had happened. This left the entire courtroom stunned, even after hearing many of the allegations from the beginning of the trial. One chilling detail was the threat she received during her interrogation of being thrown into the East River. She said the man conducting the interrogation warned her about it in a stern voice, which left her terrified. And yes, if you've lived in New York for 25 years and never heard such a threat, then being confronted with it in an abandoned building must have been a very disturbing experience. And it's hard not to empathize. Even the sketch artist in the courtroom captured the emotions of the witness, a woman clutching a tissue, her face streaked with tears. Capricorn had been crying a lot all day, but unlike the expressions that might have been suspected of being staged, her emotions seemed real. So what was her overall impression on the witness stand? Was she believable? Was she genuine? Did she convince the jury? The answer? Yes, absolutely. She presented herself as an emotionally honest witness, didn't dodge questions, and faced the most difficult details of her story. And that's what gave the prosecution a major victory today. Capricorn Clark's tears seemed to come from a very sincere place. It was the kind of emotion you can relate to, when someone is trying so hard to remember painful memories while still maintaining respect for the work they did. She shared that even though her job wasn't particularly high profile, she was proud to have contributed to something bigger, supporting an influential person in social causes, including voter turnout campaigns. For Capricorn, it was a sense of overcoming an invisible barrier, something that meant a lot to her. But then the painful memories came flooding back. She talked about being kicked out of her Miami home by her boss, someone she once respected, for staying out too long. She said she wasn't going anywhere far, but Diddy insisted she wasn't allowed to leave. When she returned, he threw her out of the house and said, "If you want a life, you can't work here. You don't like this place." It was a cold, hard, heartbreaking moment, especially coming from someone she once trusted. In the courtroom, all eyes were on Diddy's reaction, and you could see at times when Capricorn's testimony hit home, he seemed uncomfortable, pushing back his chair, his face tense. But at other times, when she recalled fond memories of her work, Diddy nodded in agreement. These expressions inadvertently gave weight and credibility to Capricorn's testimony. Clearly, she was a witness the jury would not forget when it came time to deliberate. Regardless of the final verdict, this trial has etched a different image of Diddy in the public mind, and that image may overshadow what he built for his career and reputation. First came the shocking tape that the world saw. Then came the detailed and harrowing testimony about the alleged behavior, like Capricorn saying she was paid $65,000 to clean up the aftermath of wild sex at private parties. She described cleaning up used condoms, taking care of things through sleepless nights, and working non-stop. And when it was all over, she said she asked for a simple letter of recommendation and got nothing. Not a thank you, not a recognition. That's the coldness Capricorn carries with her story. And that may be what many people remember. Not the image of a showman in a suit, but the image of someone who had a chance to build a legacy, but may have ruined it. With a memorable witness whose story reads more like an HBO script than a courtroom deposition, the details fit the prosecutor's extortion claims perfectly. Remember, they're trying to prove that Diddy used his business and employees to commit a pattern of organized crime. Kidnapping, assault, forced labor, obstruction of justice, bribery. Those are just a few of the charges the prosecutor has raised in order to prove the necessary pretext for a RICO extortion charge. But the trial is still in the prosecutor's hands. We haven't even gotten to the defense yet. There were also some notable behind-the-scenes developments today. The judge agreed to throw out some of the testimony that Capricorn Clark said Cassie shared, saying the jury shouldn't hear it. Meanwhile, a decision is still pending on the testimony of Dr. Don Hugh, an expert who has testified on the complex nature of domestic violence and the recurring behaviors of victims. That ruling could come in the next few days. To be clear, I and several others are being sued by P. Diddy for our reporting on this case, and the lawsuit has not yet been finalized. Law enforcement is scheduled to continue testifying tomorrow, and the prosecution will build more parts of the extortion conspiracy case. We will be there to report the full story. And remember, the truth is not only serious, it is extremely important. Thank you everyone for taking the time to watch today's video. If you find the content useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. I really appreciate Brittany Murphy, a talented, beautiful, and promising Hollywood actress, passed away suddenly at a very young age, leaving many fans with regrets. Recently, HBO Max released a new documentary, delving into her turbulent final years, raising many unanswered questions. In that context, new speculations continue to appear, this time related to other famous figures in the entertainment industry. What is being discussed has surprised many people and made them curious. Let's find out the latest details surrounding this shocking incident. The sudden death of the talented actress Brittany Murphy in 2009 shocked Hollywood. Although the official cause was pneumonia and anemia, many fans still felt that something was wrong, especially considering the relationships and circumstances she faced in her final years. Recently, an HBO Max documentary brought Brittany's story back into the spotlight, revealing more details about her isolated life after marrying the mysterious Simon Monjack. Many close to her said that since Simon's arrival, Brittany seemed to withdraw more and more from the world around her, becoming more and more isolated. His unbelievable statements about himself, from his career to his health, were later questioned. In addition, other famous names began to be mentioned in public discussions. As Diddy faces serious charges and his trial continues, the public is starting to re-examine his past and his close relationships, including with Ashton Kutcher. The relationship between the two has been known since the early 2000s, with moments recounted on the 2019 episode of Hot Ones. But now that Diddy is under the scrutiny of justice, the public can't help but pay attention to those who were close to him. It's worth noting that over the years, there have been many rumors that influential figures in the entertainment industry may know more about the true circumstances surrounding Brittany Murphy's death. While there has been no concrete evidence, the questions continue to be asked, and the public's interest has not waned. Is it all just coincidence, or are there more pieces of the puzzle that have never been revealed? As justice is gradually unraveling the cases involving famous figures, people once again have to look back at the mysterious story of Brittany Murphy, a talent who left too soon. On the morning of December 20th, 2009, actress Brittany Murphy collapsed in the bathroom of the home she shared with her husband, Simon Monjack, and her mother, Sharon Murphy. In a panic, Sharon called 911 for help. Brittany was rushed to the ambulance in the hope of making it to Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles. Unfortunately, she did not survive and was pronounced dead on the road near the 97 freeway. The emergency call that day was recorded, revealing a chaotic scene as Sharon tried to explain to the operator that her daughter had collapsed. When asked about Brittany's age, she choked up and replied, "She's 30. Please help us." The official report stated that Brittany died from pneumonia, anemia, and the effects of multiple prescription drugs. However, this explanation has never completely satisfied the public. Several people close to Brittany later shared that she felt she was being watched. More worryingly, Brittany also suspected that she may have been slowly poisoned. The suspicions were further compounded by the uncanny similarities between Brittany's death and Kim Porter's Sean Diddy Combs' ex-girlfriend and the mother of his 3 children. Kim also died of pneumonia in 2018 and was said to have expressed to those around her that she was worried for her safety before her death. Coincidentally, both women were young, healthy, and died of a rare form of pneumonia called rheumatic pneumonia. This has led many to wonder if it was really just a coincidence. Kim Porter is said to be writing a memoir and may have been preparing to reveal some sensitive information related to the entertainment industry. Although there is no concrete evidence to support the suspicions surrounding her death, Kim's sudden passing continues to be a topic of interest to many people. Brittany's story does not end there. Her husband, Simon Monjack, is said to have objected to an autopsy, which has raised many questions. Although he could not legally prevent it, this action has made many people suspect that something is still hidden. Even more remarkable, just a few months after Brittany's death, Simon also died in the same house, also from pneumonia and anemia, according to the conclusion of the medical examiner. All of these details make Brittany Murphy's death to this day one of the biggest mysteries of modern Hollywood. Although the official cause has been announced, the coincidences, questions surrounding relationships, and shared words before passing continue to make the public ask, is it all really over, or is there still something left unsaid? But this is where things really start to get strange. According to a report from ABC News, shortly after Brittany Murphy's death, the Los Angeles Medical Examiner's Office refused to immediately release the substances found in her system. This, while probably a prudent legal move, has only added to the public's suspicions. The death of a young celebrity with no clear answers from the start has created tension and speculation. Brittany's husband, Simon Monjack, tried to downplay any suspicions when interviewed by People magazine. He claimed that Brittany had only taken a few over-the-counter medications, including herbal remedies, menstrual pills, and cough syrup. Nothing dangerous, nothing that would have made her heart beat faster, he said. But this explanation didn't convince fans who knew Brittany was a sensitive and sometimes anxious person in the final years of her life. Her mother, Sharon Murphy, also sided with Simon. She insisted that Brittany had never used drugs or even drank alcohol. Initially, she raised the possibility that her daughter might have had a rare, undiagnosed heart condition, but as details emerged, things became more and more unbelievable. One of the things that really shocked the public was the information from some of Britney's close friends that she had expressed fears of being poisoned. Not only did she express these fears in a casual way, Britney also showed obvious panic. She reportedly installed security cameras around her house and locked her doors with fingerprint recognition technology, personal protection measures that went far beyond the norm. That showed she felt unsafe in her own home. During this time, Britney reportedly frequently shared that she felt she was being watched and that someone was deliberately trying to harm her. Some close to her said that she avoided eating or drinking from sources she did not trust, as if she were constantly on guard against her surroundings. After Britney's death, a new theory emerged, the mold theory. Rumors circulated that Britney's Hollywood Hills home may have been contaminated with toxic mold, and that this could have been the cause of her death. Strangely, Simon and Sharon, who had dismissed other theories, suddenly agreed that mold could be the culprit. But when asked to cooperate with investigators to test their home for mold, they both refused. This inconsistency raises many questions. If mold was truly the cause of death, then refusing to be tested seems to defy common sense. And then, forensic pathologist Richard Shepard dismissed the mold theory, stating that no trace of fungus was found in Britney's lungs or blood, a brief but definitive end to a controversial theory. But Britney's lingering fear of being poisoned, though unproven, is a difficult part of the story to ignore. In the final months of her life, she seemed to be in a state of extreme anxiety. She avoided people and places she once trusted, telling a few close to her that powerful people in Hollywood were watching her, people who, she said, might have bad intentions. While no one knows for sure what really happened to Britney Murphy, the legacy she left behind, from her insecurities to her fears to her hyperprotective behaviors, continues to paint a complex, even frightening picture. And that's why, more than a decade after her death, many people still wonder, what really happened in the final days of Britney Murphy's life? And then there's her husband, the man at the center of all the questions surrounding the case. He's older, controversial, and a source of concern for many. They met when Britney was just 17, and what's been made public about him has raised questions in the community. According to some of Britney's friends and family, there were concerns that the relationship might not have been healthy. They believed that she might have been influenced, or even subtly controlled. In the HBO documentary, What Happened, Britney Murphy, the director and panelists shared their perspectives, raising questions about his role in her life and the events that happened to her. Britney's close friend, actress Kathy Najimy, also appeared in the film and recalled how she felt Britney became increasingly distant and unapproachable after the relationship. Kathy shared that something was off, that friends were worried and didn't understand who he really was. What caught many people's attention was that some of the stories he told, such as dating famous people or claiming to have a terminal illness and undergoing strange treatments, all of which raised doubts about their authenticity. And then when he died just 5 months after Britney, in the same house from the same cause of death, pneumonia and anemia, the story became even more disturbing. Many couldn't help but ask, how could two adults, once considered healthy, die just months apart, in the same place, and from the same cause? It was a rare, if not extremely unusual, coincidence. There have been theories such as toxic mold in their environment, but none of them have been confirmed. This only adds to the mystery surrounding their deaths. While we can't draw a definitive conclusion, it's clear that this isn't just a sad story. It's a thought-provoking series of events, and one that still leaves many unanswered questions. A few years after Britney Murphy's tragic death, her father, Angelo Bertolotti, began to question the official autopsy report. Unsatisfied with the initial findings, he conducted his own independent investigation, which included hiring a private lab to analyze Britney's hair. The lab's results were shocking. They found unusually high levels of heavy metals in the hair, including substances commonly found in rat poison or pesticides. This led Angelo to suspect that his daughter's death was not due to natural causes. He even suggested that Brittany might have been poisoned. However, during the initial autopsy, authorities did not conduct toxicology tests in this direction. The reason? According to experts, there were no specific signs that warranted a poisoning test at that time. What makes the story even more intriguing is that before her death, Brittany reportedly expressed fears that she might be being harmed, a detail that has many wondering if her concerns were taken lightly. In addition, the public has been particularly interested in the behavior and attitudes of those closest to Brittany after her death, including her mother, Sharon, and then-husband, Simon Monjack. Many fans and observers have said that both have kept a low profile and have not pushed for further investigations, which has raised even more questions. Some have suggested that the relationship between Sharon and Simon after Brittany's death became too close, in a way that many find odd. Not long after, Simon died in the same house, with the causes announced as pneumonia and anemia, just like Brittany, just 5 months apart. After their deaths, Sharon quickly sold the house and did not pursue any environmental theories, such as the toxic mold theory that was once mentioned. This has left many wondering, if her daughter died under such strange circumstances, why didn't she try to find more answers? Of course, we are all just bystanders, but the details surrounding Brittany Murphy's death continue to leave many unanswered questions, leaving the public curious and tormented. What really happened? And this is where the Hollywood story starts to heat up with constant speculation and gossip. Some fans believe that Sharon and Simon may be keeping some big secrets, while others believe that Brittany may have had some trouble with bigger forces in the entertainment industry. It is rumored that Brittany was targeted because she refused to participate in the power games that are rumored to exist in showbiz. You know, the lavish and controversial parties, most famously involving Diddy, the biggest name in the music industry. So what does Brittany have to do with all this? Let's go back to her high-profile relationship with Ashton Kutcher. They started dating in 2002 after filming Just Married Together. There were rumors that they were engaged when they were seen wearing matching rings, but after only about 5 months, they broke up. The reason for the rumor is that Ashton had a close relationship with Demi Moore, who was also rumored to have attended Diddy's parties. The timeline fits quite well as Ashton went public with his relationship with Demi shortly after his split from Brittany. This has led many to question whether Brittany knew or witnessed something related to the parties and behind-the-scenes activities of Hollywood that she did not want to continue participating in. There is a theory that, like actress Kim Porter, Brittany may have had sensitive information related to big names in the entertainment industry. Some anonymous sources said that this information may have been passed on to the authorities for investigation. This raises the question of whether Brittany could have been targeted because of what she knew, and was she pressured or silenced? There are still many unknowns in the story, and I would love to hear your opinions in the comments section. This is one of the most complex and profound topics we've ever discussed, so stay tuned for our next videos for more updates. A moment that silenced the courtroom. The door opened and all eyes turned toward it. No one could have guessed who was walking in Britney Spears. No longer the pop icon in the spotlight, Britney appeared in a completely different role: witness. It was the first time she had taken the stand in a federal courtroom since being released from a guardianship that lasted more than a decade. As inner-city press reports, the tension grew as Britney began to recount what happened not as an artist, but as a survivor. Her testimony, which implicated Sean Diddy Combs, along with names like Lou Taylor and Robin Greenhill, shook the room. Not just because of what she said, but because of the larger picture it suggested a complex system of power behind the scenes. So what was revealed? And why are these revelations causing the industry to take notice? Let's take a closer look at Britney Spears' testimony and hear the behind-the-scenes story that the public rarely sees. The tension in the courtroom had been palpable. Prosecutors had been hinting all week that a key witness would appear, but no one expected it to be her. When the door opened and Britney Spears entered, the chatter died down. She walked slowly, her heels lightly brushing the wooden floor, her head bowed but her posture straight. Even the judge was momentarily taken aback. At the bar table, Sean Combs's legal team exchanged bewildered glances. Combs himself seemed to be unable to hide his surprise, leaning toward his lawyer to whisper something. But Brittany's gaze did not waver. She did not look at him. Not yet. She sat on the witness stand, her hands clasped in her lap, shaking slightly. But this was no longer the pop princess of the early 2000s. This was a woman who had been through so much, scarred, not just on the outside, but on the inside. "I've been taught to be quiet most of my life," she says, her voice soft but clear. "They told me it would protect me, but they were wrong, and today I'm not going to be quiet anymore." The room falls silent. Even the buzz of cameras and keyboards stops. All eyes are on her, not for her fame, but for her courage. Brittany begins to recount her experience. According to her testimony, it all began the night before the 2007 MTV Video Music Awards. A party, hosted by Sean Combs, was supposed to be a fun gathering for artists and guests. Brittany says she was invited to attend and was assured that everything was safe. She only planned to stop by for a moment before her big performance the next day. "I just wanted to focus on my performance. It was my comeback opportunity, but that night changed everything." At the party, she says, she was handed a glass of wine believed to be champagne and a reassuring smile. "Just one glass, you'll be fine," someone said. That's her last clear memory of that night. "I remember the lights, I remember the laughter, then everything went blurry. The room started spinning, my thoughts slowed down, and then black." The next morning, Brittany says she woke up in a state of confusion, not unlike the feeling she gets after a hangover. She said she felt like she wasn't in complete control of her body, her mind was fuzzy, and her memory was muddled. Yet despite all that, she was asked to go on stage. The show must go on, she was told. That year's VMA's performance was once derided as a terrible performance. But today, it takes on a whole new meaning. As Brittany began her testimony, the jury leaned in, their eyes clearly confused. Meanwhile, Sean Combs did not look up. Through Brittany's words, a picture of that night began to emerge with many previously unknown corners. She said that the party, held at a luxury nightclub at Caesars Palace, Las Vegas, was not the normal party she had imagined. With flashing lights from a series of cameras, celebrities gathered in VIP areas, and moments that seemed to be just for fun, Brittany felt there was a careful preparation behind it. She described Sean Combs as the master of the party, moving through the crowd like a powerful host. According to her, his eyes followed her in a special way, along with his offers of drinks and his request for the crowd to show her respect. It felt like she was in the middle of a performance, an uncomfortable parade. Brittany also mentioned several familiar faces in the entertainment industry, including Robin Greenhill, who was later revealed to be involved in her conservatorship business. Although Brittany didn't know his name at the time, she remembered his face and his silent presence, especially when Robin led her into the VIP lounge area just before things got serious. She shared that she felt safe with these people around her, but that feeling quickly faded. After drinking the champagne, Brittany began to lose her sense of control. Her vision blurred, her thoughts slowed, and she felt off balance. She remembers someone whispering, "She's done," followed by laughter around her. Brittany woke up the next morning feeling confused and inexplicably upset, as if something was going on inside her. Yet everyone around her insisted she was fine, that she was exaggerating. But she knew something was going on, that no one was listening. Brittany told the jury that looking back, she believes it was part of a larger plan, a setup to hurt her deeply and end a chapter in her life. When the day of the VMAs arrived, Brittany admitted that she had not fully recovered. She felt dizzy, off balance, and not herself. Still, her team urged her to go on stage, reminding her that millions of people were watching and she needed to perform well. She recalled a moment of hasty preparation when her stylist handed her an outfit she didn't recognize, one that had been criticized by the press. She asked to change but was told, "Just wear it, you're fine." She was pushed onto the stage, the lights came on, and the music blared. Brittany stood there trying to dance to the music, but her lack of concentration made it nearly impossible to move to the beat. What was supposed to be her comeback performance turned into a challenging moment. She told the jury that this was no accident. She felt she had been set up to fail. As she performed, Sean Combs watched from the crowd, his eyes impassive and unfazed. Brittany remembers that look clearly, not of confusion, but of quiet satisfaction. And then the media storm hit. Sensational headlines, stories of her downfall, rumors of rehab, custody battles, and conservatorships. She felt she had been publicly humiliated, then trapped in a system she had no control over. At the end of her testimony, Brittany looked straight at Sean Combs, her voice both shaky and clear. "You started this, and now I'm going to end it." As Brittany continued her testimony, she took on a different tone, no longer as a performer on stage, but as someone who had endured tremendous hardship. "I didn't fall apart in a moment," she told the court. "They slowly took away pieces of me." Names like Lou Taylor, Robin Greenhill, and TriStar Entertainment, people who had been mentioned for years, were finally mentioned under oath. As Brittany spoke these names, Sean Combs's attorneys looked visibly confused, as if they knew what was coming next. Brittany said that after the 2007 VMAs, she began receiving calls from people around her, not offering sympathy or support, but demands and pressure. Among them were her father, Jamie, a man named Larry, and a woman she barely knew at the time, Lou Taylor. They said she was in crisis, that she needed a more structured framework in her life. And just weeks later, control of her assets and her life began to be discussed. Brittany testified that Lou Taylor's tone was always calm, almost cold, not like someone who really wanted to help. She spoke of appointments, psychological evaluations, and hospitalizations at rehab centers that she had no memory of agreeing to. These were not steps toward health care, Brittany said, but more like rehearsals, a preparation for a much more complex and unpredictable plan. Brittany said frankly, "They set up the conservatorship before I even knew what a conservatorship was." One moment that brought the courtroom to a deafening silence was when Brittany revealed the connection between Lou Taylor and Sean Combs. She said Lou Taylor had worked with Sean through the same record label, Uptown Records, and that's how they met and how it all started. Brittany presented a photo, a screenshot from a Hollywood Reporter article, confirming their working relationship. "I'm not just tied to the same system that took my freedom away. I'm being handed over to them," she said. She testified under oath that she believes Sean Combs and Lou Taylor communicated in the days after the VMAs, and that her breakdown was the reason they pushed for the conservatorship. They called her vulnerable, and they were the ones pulling the strings behind the scenes. Brittany also spoke about Robin Greenhill, who she called Lou Taylor's shadow, who did the behind-the-scenes work, including approving payments from Sean Combs' accounts to people in his entertainment network. She quoted from documents in Lil Rod's lawsuit, saying that Robin was not only the bookkeeper, but also the person who managed the payments within that system. Moving on, Brittany mentioned the treatment centers, which she said were part of the control mechanism that Lou Taylor and her father used to limit her freedom. She recounted that they told her she needed help, but in reality they were just forcing her to use drugs to incapacitate her. Brittany described the experience of being taken to a center in the Caribbean, then moved to Malibu, then returned home under strict medication control. "There were times when I didn't agree with the way they treated me. I wasn't drinking, I wasn't partying, I was just trying to survive," she said. "But they treated me like a criminal." Brittany testified that during this time, she had no control over her finances, her medications, or her travel. The only people she saw were representatives from TriStar Entertainment and lawyers hired by her father, all of whom were part of Lou Taylor's network of control. As Brittany continued to speak, she revealed the most disturbing aspect of her story: the medications she was prescribed without explanation and the impact they had on her memory. "There were days when I don't remember exactly what day it was, and I would just sit and stare at the wall for hours," she told the jury. When she asked why, she was told she had signed some papers, which Brittany insisted she didn't remember doing. She said she was once given a piece of paper with the TriStar logo on it, with a blank signature section, and told it was for her protection. I remember shaking and being so scared. I didn't want to lose custody, Brittany said, and so she signed it. The next day, the guardianship went into effect. Brittany choked up. I wasn't protected. I was in custody. She alleged that Lou Taylor transferred hundreds of thousands of dollars from her assets to accounts controlled by TriStar, while Sean Combs, financial advisor, was also involved in many of those transactions. She asked the jury, "Why is my money tied to the man who gave me that drink?" Brittany recounted that every time she tried to resist, by skipping her medication, refusing to pose for photos, or asking to go outside, she was punished with increased doses and tighter restrictions. He was always kept in the loop. He watched from afar, but he never stepped in to help me, she said. Her voice was softer now, but her words were still heavy. I didn't just lose control of my life. I lost my image, my body, my privacy. Brittany testified that Robin Greenhill and Lou Taylor had complete access to her phone, her home, and her schedule. But that's not all. They had cameras in every room, even my bedroom. I couldn't close the door, she said. She revealed that text messages with her children were also monitored, along with her internet searches. If she searched her name too many times, her device would be locked. She also talked about Black Box Security, a company hired by her father working closely with TriStar and Robin Greenhill to create mirror iCloud accounts to monitor her every move. Brittany said she learned this from a former employee named Alex Vlov, who bravely came forward to reveal the truth. She concluded chillingly, "They weren't just watching me. They were recording me." The courtroom fell into a suffocating silence as she continued. I asked to see those recordings. They said they were for safety, but I knew what they were doing. They were gathering evidence to control me and keep me quiet. Brittany said one of the tapes captured her breaking down during the VMA rehearsals, saying, "I can't do this. Something's wrong with me." The tape was shown to her legal team as evidence of her instability. She also said that on the night of the party with Sean Combs, she asked about the security footage and was told it didn't exist. But she now believes it was real, had been saved, and may have been used to control her. Brittany looked straight at Sean Combs. "You say you're trying to help, but I'm the one who's being held captive. I've lost 14 years of my life." She turned to the jury and said, "I know people think I'm out of control, that I need help, but that's because they only see what they want to see. They just watched videos of me breaking down, jokes, but none of it was really me. That's what they did to me." And with that, Brittany closed the file in front of her, but it was clear she had only just begun to tell her story. Brittany's tone changed dramatically as she entered the darkest part of her story. The lights in the courtroom dimmed as she recounted the night she believed she lost everything, her freedom, her reputation, her voice, and how it all stemmed from that moment at Pure Nightclub. "Is there anything worse than losing your mind?" she asked. "When people tell you you lost your mind and you know someone else did it." Brittany recounted how on the morning of September 9th, 2007, just hours before the VMAs, she woke up shaking, uncoordinated, with muscle weakness and a disjointed memory. "I wasn't drunk," she told the court. "I was tampered with." She testified that after the performance, which was heavily covered by the media, she returned to her hotel in a state of confusion. It was then that Lou Taylor called for the first time, telling her that she needed a framework to control the situation, that they could help her. Lou offered to arrange treatment as well as crisis management, but all of it came with strict conditions. Brittany said that within a week, her legal documents began to change. Her power of attorney was transferred, and people she had never hired began to control her medical and financial decisions. Another major revelation was that she discovered that shortly after the VMAs, Diddy called Lou Taylor. He told her that she had gone too far and that the public had seen enough. Brittany paused, swallowed, and then said, "It all happened so fast. One night, one show, and suddenly I was no longer the master of my own life." She also testified that later that night, a member of the venue's staff who witnessed her fall backstage attempted to contact her to report the incident, but was unsuccessful. Brittany added that she knew Diddy had close ties to several major media outlets, and that was why the story of the VMA night quickly shifted from a difficult night to one about her losing control. That story seemed to be the reason they did what they did next, she said softly but with strength. I wasn't broken. I was defeated. The courtroom fell silent, stunned. The jurors blinked slowly, many visibly moved. For the first time, Brittany leaned forward, holding her hands together. "What about him?" she asked. "He wasn't just a guest at the VMAs. He was behind it all." The air in the room seemed to stop as Brittany delivered a piece of evidence that no one expected. "For years I was told there was no video of that night," she began. "But they lied, and I saw it." Brittany testified that in the final months of her conservatorship, a former TriStar employee had secretly contacted her. The person said she saw the unedited security video, which was recorded on the night of September 8, 2007, when she attended Diddy's party at Pure nightclub. The video has never been released, was not part of any investigation, and was not recorded by the hotel's security system. Because it didn't go through the hotel's security system, it went straight to Diddy, Brittany said. In the video, she can be seen dancing for a while, drinking from a glass given to her by a man in a gray suit. She remembered the man and years later identified him as a close assistant to Diddy. In the video, Brittany begins to stagger and then sits down, clearly disoriented. A group of men surround her. A few minutes later, she is led out of the frame. The video ends before anything else happens, but for Brittany, that was enough. "It shows that I had no control over myself. I didn't leave that club on my own." She described the video as being shown to Robin Greenhill and others in the TriStar office, not to help her, but as backup evidence. They didn't destroy the video. They kept it as insurance. Brittany revealed that the anonymous whistleblower told her that TriStar and its affiliates had dozens of similar videos, not just of her, but of many other artists. "They're called insurance tapes," she said, shaking. "They film girls at parties, at hotels, even in private rooms. And Diddy had all of that. He didn't just film me, he kept me." Brittany paused, looking directly at the jurors. "Do you understand now why I can't get away? Why every time I try to tell the truth, they have something to threaten me with? That VMA's performance wasn't a breakdown. It was proof. Proof that I was controlled. And you saw it all. You let it happen. And now, you can't hide behind money or fame anymore." When Brittany took the final stand, her voice was no longer shaking. It was filled not only with pain, but also with intense anger. "I want to make this clear for the record," she began. "I'm not crazy. I've been locked up." She looked directly at the judge, then turned to the jurors. "They made a fool of me. They called me unstable. And when I spoke up, they said it was a sign of a breakdown. But I wasn't breaking down. I was just trying to be heard." Brittany testified that after the conservatorship was imposed, she was placed under 24/7 surveillance. Her calls were recorded, her medications were closely monitored, her children's access was restricted, and her income was funneled directly into a series of companies and managers, all closely tied to TriStar. In doing so, Brittany emphasized her connection to Diddy. "I lost over $100 million while I was in that cage," she said. "They said it was to protect me, but it was really to protect their system." She said that even after the conservatorship ended, she was afraid to speak out because she was warned that if she opened her mouth, she would disappear again. So she kept quiet for years. Then, in an emotional moment, Brittany pulled out a small, handwritten, somewhat worn piece of paper. She said it was a letter she had written in 2009, but had never sent. "I wrote this letter to Diddy," she said. "I was 27 years old, still trying to understand how someone I barely knew could have such a big impact on my life." She read it aloud. "I hope it was worth it, whatever you promised, because you helped them hurt me. And I don't know if you'll ever admit it, but I know you do. I saw it in your eyes the night you congratulated me before the VMAs. You knew I was trapped and you smiled." The courtroom was silent. Diddy said nothing, no reaction. Brittany folded the letter, gently pocketing it. "I didn't do this for the money. I didn't do this for the fame. I did this for my children to know the truth. to let them know that their mother wasn't a loser, that their mother was trapped. She looked straight at the judge. "For 14 years, I've been begging for someone to listen. Now you're finally listening. Please don't turn away." With those words, Britney Spears stood up, thanked the court, and left the courtroom. Not a pop star, but a woman who had bravely told a story she had once wanted to keep hidden. Diddy remained silent, for the first time the one being watched. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you find the content useful or meaningful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to support me. I really appreciate your companion.